Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is an American heroine and a good sport to boot. She is a woman of deep-seated principle. She puts the needs of others ahead of herself. She even dropped out of the GOP primary race for president to keep from splitting the vote from another conservative candidate. She's a team player, even when it comes to sounding an unpopular alarm. Recently, Michelle Bachmann heroically sounded the alarm that U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's chief aide, Huma Abedin, has known and documented family ties to al-Qaeda. But when John McCain heard the news, instead of applauding Bachmann and working with her to expose this national security threat, he railed against her on the Senate floor, demonizing her in a frantic attempt to destroy her credibility and squelch her clarion call to stand up to al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood's attempts to infiltrate our republic. But before we show you McCain's bizarre whitewashing of al-Qaeda inroads into the political fabric of the United States, let's first look at the family connections of Hillary Clinton's right-hand associate, Huma Abedin. Huma Abedin's brother, Hassan Abedin, is a fellow at the Oxford Center for Islamic Studies, or the OCIS. Its chairman of the board, get this, is clearly documented as none other than the infamous al-Qaeda godfather, Abdullah Omar Nassif. Oh, and it gets worse. Huma Abedin's mother, Saleha Abedin, is one of 63 leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood offshoot, the Muslim Sisterhood, and she is a close colleague of Egypt's new First Lady, Nahla Mahmoud. Mahmoud is one of the 63 sisterhood leaders, as well as the wife of Mohammed Morsi, who is a leader in the Muslim Brotherhood and newly elected president of Egypt. Moreover, both of Huma's parents, Saleha and Zaid Abedin, now deceased, founded the Institute for Muslim Minority Affairs, with the help of none other than al-Qaeda godfather Abdullah Omar Nassif. This means conclusively that Huma Abedin's father, mother, and brother all have or have had very close connections to both the Muslim Brotherhood and al-Qaeda financiers. You know, the people who pay for September 11 and related events. And what does John McCain have to say about Michelle Bachmann's letter warning about this huge threat to U.S. national security? John McCain writes, quote, "This letter alleges that 3 members of Huma's family are connected to Muslim Brotherhood operatives and or organizations. These sinister accusations rest solely on a few unspecified and unsubstantiated associations of members of Huma's family." However, McCain's statements are patently false. The official OCIS annual report of the Board of Trustees from the government of Great Britain documents that Hassan Abedin, Huma's brother, is on that board. But rather than showing concern about this obvious national security breach, John McCain used silly logic, stating, quote, "Never mind that one of those individuals, Huma's father, passed away 2 decades ago." McCain, unbelievably, even dared to ask Bachmann as a Christian to, quote, "repent from her statements of warning." But McCain is not alone in throwing marshmallows at people close to members of al-Qaeda. Rabbi Saperstein stated, quote, "The Reform Movement and I personally have worked with Miss Huma Abedin, Imam Magdid, and the ISNA for many years. All have worked on behalf of U.S. interest at home and abroad. We've built relationships across religious lines and affirmed U.S. constitutional values." Yet, it was the ISNA that wrote, quote, "The war against the apostates is carried out not to force them to accept Islam, but to enforce the Islamic law and to maintain order." Then we have Keith Ellison, who recently told Anderson Cooper on CNN that, quote, "U.S. Representative Michelle Bachmann's allegations of a Muslim Brotherhood deep penetration of the federal government is untrue and a phantom." Does Mr. Ellison deny that the Muslim Brotherhood founded the Muslim Student Association, which blatantly intends to destroy the United States of America? The proof can be viewed on their own website. Anderson Cooper then attempted to discredit Michelle Bachmann by blatantly misrepresenting the truth and stating, quote, "As per Abedin's mother and brother, Bachmann never gives any evidence of their alleged links to the Muslim Brotherhood." But that's not all. Several other high-profile perceived conservatives are compromising national security on the altar of diversity. Listen to these recent comments from other high-profile American politicians concerning Bachmann's courageous statements of truth. Quote, Representative Bachmann's accusations about Secretary Clinton aide Huma Abedin are out of line. This kind of rhetoric has no place in our public discourse. Scott Brown, quote, From everything that I do know of Abedin, she has a sterling character, and I think accusations like this being thrown around are pretty dangerous. John Boehner, quote, I can tell you that I don't share the feelings that are in that letter, and in fact, I'm very, very careful and cautious about ever making accusations like that about anyone. Marco Rubio. When will the American on the street realize that many politicians and most mainstream news networks simply refuse to report the truth, even when truth is handed to them on a silver platter? If Americans do not educate themselves to the truth of these matters and get involved now, there may be no more America in which to get involved. It seems the mainstream media and certain U.S. government officials are counting on you not getting involved. They are actually counting on your apathy in order to snatch this country and your freedoms away from you. The question is, will you allow them to do so?